Hi and welcome to the second edition of our lockdown learning series, where we reveal some of the secrets through short tutorial videos that we teach our students on our professional business consulting program at Sort and Scale Academy. Today the name of this lockdown learning tutorial is Business Strategy Made Simple, where I want to boil down the elements of business strategy into a nice, simple, understandable form. Business strategy is something that sounds very lofty, it sounds like a very difficult and complex thing. Actually, it is one of the most simple concepts in business, and I want to just help you to define and understand what a strategy is. So certainly the way that we describe strategy at Sort and Scale when we are working with business clients is that the strategy is not a plan. A plan is it's often a very meaty document which illustrates how you're going to execute a strategy, but a strategy is the very, very simple but very high level decisions that you make that you believe are going to achieve your business growth objectives. And essentially they boil down to what products, services or customers or markets are you going to move into, are you going to target in order to deliver your growth and profit objectives. Now, there are essentially two moving parts to the decisions that you have to make, and while they might seem infinite, they're not infinite, there only is a couple really. One of those decision making areas is to do with what you can do as a business, so what we would call your capabilities. Okay, so business is about creating and delivering stuff that you can actually do, capabilities for your customers. That pen's coming through a bit better now. There we go. Okay. And you deliver these capabilities to groups of people who are interested in purchasing those capabilities because they solve a problem for them and it's something they perhaps can't do for themselves. So we call those groups markets. And that's the second element. And that's kind of it. Those are the two major buckets, those are the two major areas that make up a business offering. So what's the stuff that we can do, hopefully in a unique way that other people find that hard to do, and who are we going to sell it to? So what are the groups of people, customers, that we define as a market, who might be interested in buying some of these capabilities? Now, strategically, you've got a decision then within those two areas of whether to use the existing capabilities that you have, let's say, so the ones that you have already, or whether you're going to actually create or invent some new capabilities, so do some things that you haven't done before. And then when you make a choice of who you're going to sell these capabilities to, the same thing occurs. Are we going to sell to new markets, so people that don't necessarily know about us yet? Okay. Or are we going to stick with the groups, the markets, the customers that know us already? So that would be your existing markets. Okay. So really, the big strategic decisions come into play where these things intersect, right? So where we've got a box here where our existing capabilities are delivered to our existing markets, we essentially call that a penetration exercise. That's a strategy of penetration, and the activities associated with that strategy in there typically are sales and marketing activities, because we're not learning anything new. We're not going after a whole new market that's never heard of us before. We're not learning to deliver any new capabilities, so we don't need any new skills or machines. It's what we know already. to who we know already, and that's what we call penetration. And it is, if you refer back to the first in this series, and you think about the way that I framed sort and scale as a method, all of the projects that we do to sort the business come in to this box here. So not only do we try and do this and achieve sales to our existing market with our existing capabilities, so you might call that our core business, our core offering, but we also go through projects where we try and essentially automate that delivery and that business, so it becomes a reliable and repeatable revenue machine. So then you might think, okay, well, the markets we're in can only buy so much of what we have. So let's say you're selling food, for instance. You can make the food taste an awful lot better, but your customers can only eat so much. So if you really want to significantly grow the business, you're probably going to want to move into one of these other areas. You're probably going to want to go and think, okay, we know these customers really, really well. And we can think of some new things that we could do for them that solves a problem. It's a new area of business for us. We've not done it before, but we do know the customers very well. And that means that not only are they buying this stuff that they're already buying from us, but they're buying this as well. So in terms of your biggest opportunity to deliver step change growth as opposed to small increases in revenue, it's going to come into one of these other areas. So now they're buying, our original offering, and they're buying a new one. So this is essentially product development. So this is what you might call NPD, new product development or services, new product or services, and this, as part of our own methodology, the sort and scale methodology, this would be a scale measure, because this delivers step change growth for the business. By step changes in growth, I mean literally we could be doubling or trebling the size of the business because our existing market is buying this and this. They're essentially able to now spend twice as much with us. Equally, you might actually say, well, I'm going to keep the capability the same, but I'm going to think of new groups of people who might be interested in buying that capability. I might need to adjust the way we talk about it, or paint it a new colour or something like that, but there's no real risk, there's no real major learnings here. We already have this capability, it's what we know how to do very well, and we can think of new groups of customers who might want to buy this. So this is what we call market development. And it's also what we would count as a scale measure. Okay, so the options that you have really are one of three, and when we employ the sort and scale approach, we start here and try and automate the delivery of this, and then we typically choose one of these two areas and we start to move into that area in order to deliver step changes to the business. Now, when you continue to apply that method over time, then you've got a virtuous, never-ending process that can continuously deliver step changes for the business. So, because one thing to remember about new things is they're not new forever. So over time, this new market that you're in becomes an existing market, and you might penetrate that and deliver some sort type projects to automate that. Then you might think of a new product or service that market might buy. But over time, those are not new anymore, so those become existing, you penetrate, and so on and so forth, a bit like a boomerang type shape around about here, and you continue to go around that cycle, and that's how you can deliver systematic, step changes in growth for the business over time. You can take some very well-known businesses and watch as they progress through this. The obvious one would be Apple, where you can think of how their sort of existing capability in hardware became was then leveraged to open up a new market for music through the iPod, and then that became an existing market. And then for that market that they now had, they developed the iTunes Store and started selling music, which is a software product. Over time, that became an existing capability. They were able to turn that into an app store, which then opened up a new hardware opportunity. to move into mobile phones, and that became existing, and then they moved into the tablet market, a whole new market using that existing capability. So you can see that essentially what they're doing is, of these things, which are the only two major decisions really in terms of your business strategy, they are constantly keeping one known and one unknown and delivering step changes in growth as they go. And that is largely from a strategic point of view. When you look at it, that's been a major key to their success. You'll notice there's one area we've not touched, and that's this area here, right? So we really don't want to be doing brand new capabilities and taking the risk of stepping into a new world at the same time as looking at a new market to deliver those new capabilities, because as I'll cover in one of the later editions of Lockdown Learning, I'll define risk as unknown, and in that particular area here, we know nothing. Everything's a risk, and your likelihood of success is very low. It's about sort of 3% in there, so you really don't want to be going down that route if possible. So the Sort and Scale program operates only in these three areas here. We start off here to try and deliver reliable, repeatable revenue from our existing core business, and that's how we unlock resource to open up new areas to scale the business going forward, and we've got specific ways of doing that. So that is business strategy simplified. If you ever decide to come in one of our programs to become a professional business consultant, a lot of this stuff is covered in some of the tools that you'll learn, where you can actually not have to draw this for clients, but you can use some out-of-the-bag tools to cover some of the things that we're discussing here, and you'll see some of these things here. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next edition of Lockdown Learning, but thanks for listening.